Hello, and welcome to highlights of one of our conversations with, the monthly series of informal and enlightening conversations between the leading teacher, author, and speaker, Jim Sawaf, and some of today's most progressive and connected teachers, channels, and authors. We hope you enjoy this highlight.
This concept of sacred commerce, spiritual commerce. Let's start right there and kind of define that a little bit and begin to talk about how this shift of consciousness and economies are going to begin to unfold more so.
Well, the story, it started with me visiting on my honeymoon Egypt, and a funny situation happened with the guide, and I found myself forced to take a picture in front of the god Bes, an Egyptian god, a big stone, me and my wife. Not knowing who it was, we asked who it was, and they told us it was God Bes, the patron priest of the merchant priesthood. So I was fascinated by the concept that they were actually a god of commerce, and they were the priest of commerce, not unlike, the merchant priest they were called, not unlike the temple priest and the healing priest and the witness priest, and they were the merchant priest, and who practiced business and commerce as their spiritual path. So that's how it started. And what fascinated me the most is that all Egyptians 7,000 years ago considered business or commerce a spiritual path, not only a way to lift them out of poverty and issues of survival and security and all those needs of, as per Maslow's hierarchy of needs, so that they can pursue higher needs of spirituality and beauty and goodness and truth. But it was actually a way it was a path, a spiritual path. There was the path of Jesus and the path of Buddha and the path of love and compassion, but there was the path of business. Now, a lot of listeners might say, what, path of business, a spiritual path? Yes, it used to be, and it used to be considered a gift from the goddess, But it's not only until chauvinism hit the fan along the way, and it ripped out the sacred and the feminine out of commerce. It became the unconscious exchange of goods and services that we experience today.
Yes. And so that whole level of spirituality removed once again from the core of each one of us in a lot of ways. So,
exactly. And in all subjects, chauvinism, hit the fan everywhere. It destroyed commerce, it destroyed relationship, it destroyed religion, it destroyed all kind of stuff.
Yes. And that process, in my awareness, it wasn't just in Egypt, which was a very center point of the commerce at that level, but it was in many places around the world where basically words like respect and appreciation and fairness and interaction, cooperation were really core pieces of commerce and everyday life. And much of that has been segregated out as we put our attention externally rather than internally.
Yes, actually, there's an analogy between the merchant priests of Egypt and the one in Tibet and South America and so on. They are all illustrated like the god Bes as a little figure with a big belly and a big smile on their face. And they were the patrons of the midwives, because every time a baby was born, the midwives would call on the god Bes of commerce to bestow all the material gifts and all the abilities for that person, that newborn baby, to help them with their survival, security, and so on, so they can pursue higher needs of spirituality. And you would see, for example, in Tibet, it's the laughing Buddha. He's small, he has a big belly, he's always laughing, there's always little kids all around him, and so on.
Yeah.
So it has been really, you can see that in many cultures.
So it's really kind of a oneness that moves through the entire process that has been kind of stripped away over the last many thousands of years to bring us to where we are now. And are you and I have spoken of this, but there is a reawakening, a reemergence of that sense of oneness that's unfolding, and it's going to unfold in commerce as well as in the other aspects of our well-being. How do you see that unfolding now?
Yes, actually, if you notice after the Industrial Revolutions and where the concept of profit became just a bottom line. How do we make more money on our investment? And just to do that, we have to compromise the means and how we do business and why we do business. And the more and more we went into that, the more and more we stripped more and more of the feminine and the sacred from business. But recently, in the last 20 years, you would see that suddenly, people were awakened more consciously about, first start with the conscious consumer, demanding that better product, better services, organic food, something that is not polluting. They got tired of they saw the impact of the product that has been created through the Industrial Revolution. So the conscious consumer started demanding a lot of product and services, and of course business moved along, and slowly, conscious commerce became a very big word in the last 10 years. And conscious commerce, or the green businesses, sustainable businesses, from businesses like Whole Foods, like many others, realized that the means of how we do business, are we doing business with self-esteem, with trust, with integrity, with character, without hurting the environment, it's very important. So what happened is that suddenly we moved from the one bottom line, which is return on investment, to the triple bottom line. They call them the 3 Ps. And they teach now this in business schools, green MBAs program. And there's a lot, maybe 20 or 30% of the 500 Fortune magazine, and when they put out their balance sheet and their yearly results, they talk about their triple bottom line. The first P is, of course, return on investment. Number 2 is the return to the people who created the business, with the owners, the people who basically the customers who benefited from those products and services. And the third P, which is the planet, the earth, what's the bottom line? How did we contribute to the environment, to the earth, to our planet, etc. Now, what's happening now is that, and that was actually 20 years ago when my book, Emotional Intelligence, Executive EQ, came out, and there's many books in that same time came up talking about the same subject. So it was like a little resonance that was created that moved the conscious commerce now as something that, wow, of course, everybody needs to be a conscious business person. And that's where emotional intelligence entered the domain of business, whereby the means how we do business and how our feeling, bringing the feminine back into the equation through emotional intelligence and feeling. But now, and what I talk about in Sacred Commerce, is that we're moving to the 4th bottom line, and this is really the top line. The return not only to the investment, to the environment and to the people, but to the self, to your higher self. How does what I'm doing, how are my business activity making me more spiritual, more in tune with my destiny, more good, beautiful, and true, more understanding, more loving, and happier, mostly happier, And that is where we're entering this. People will realize that conscious commerce is not enough. And yes, it's nice to have return on investment and to help the planet and to help people. But what about me? What does it do to me to allow me to grow more spiritually, to get closer to God, to be in tune with my destiny? So that's where I see commerce have moved, and where we'll be moving in the future more and more.